Soundstripe.
All right, Brenton Emanuel, UrAvgCoach podcast. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Two Plainfield guys right now, so this is amazing. Um, let's start off with um, your background. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you come from Plainfield. Um, before we started, I asked if it was okay if we talked about it. I think it's important that we talk about where you come from, and it might give people a different perspective, um, give some people some insight. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up outside Chicago, like Westmont, Oak Park area for most of my life. And then my dad left when I was 2 years old. So I had a single mom for a good chunk of it. I have an older brother. He's like a father figure to me. My mom got married to my stepdad maybe when I was 10, maybe 11, kind of the age where you're not trying to welcome another man into your house. I was a little bit, nah, bro, back up a little bit. But eventually, obviously, I've accepted him. He's been a great supporter of me. And then my freshman year, I started off at Downers Grove North,
Okay.
played football, basketball there. I did that through high school for the most part. I moved. My parents built a house in Plainfield, and I was like, Plainfield, where is this at? And we moved around like different apartments, as I was growing up. But they finally built a house, and so I remember going out to visit it all the time. And it's like we drive out to this town. It's like 12,000 people at the time. It's like nothing. I'm like, man, where y'all taking me right now to this little town? And so my last day at Dodge Grove North was the first day of track practice. And so the track coach was always giving me a hard time. He's like, because I was fast. My brother had gone there for high school, and so he knew me a little bit. And he was like, just always talking smack to me. And I said, actually, today's my last day. He was like, my PE teacher. He goes, what? I would have been so much nicer when you were leaving. I was just messing with you. I was like, yeah, man, my mom, they built a house. I didn't say very much about that stuff because it wasn't really like what I'm supposed to say. Like, I'm about to leave all my friends that I've known the last 4 or 5 years to go to this town. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
So we moved out to Plainfield. And I started in March, and then I came and do track because the whole transfer rule, you got to sit
Yeah.
out. And so, like, I walked into the school, and I was mentioned earlier, I was one of seven black people in the whole school of Plainfield. I could count. We all hung out together. So all seven of us. And we were all about the same age. And it was like, it was different, man. Like, it was only Plainfield Central High School at that time. We don't call it Plainfield High School at the time. One high school, they're building south. Um, I think it opens up my junior year. I think that's when it opened up. And it just was different, man. Like I remember there were some race issues. I remember riding my bike to basketball camp and people were saying some crazy things to me. And I'm like, why did we move to Plainfield, Illinois? Please tell me why. And just
Yeah.
having to get adjusted. And you're playing Morris High School at the time. I think Morris is a little bit more diverse now, but Morris, you're playing them. The coaches are prepping you to say, hey, like they may say something to you, you can't say anything back. And it's like, what you mean say something to me? Like what? Like what? This is like we back in the 60s again, it's just
Yeah.
stuff like but going to Plainfield, I think really grew my love for track and field, to be honest with you. I got opportunities to go to state. The track and field program was actually better. The coach at the time was actually the first coach at Plainfield South, Tim Gately. He was
Yeah.
a head track and field coach at Plainfield at the time, and they were good. They had Jake Shields and a couple other guys, and they were fast going to 4x1 to state. And so track and field kind of came my love because Tim was an all or not, I don't know if he's all American, but he was a really good long jumper, 25-foot long jumper at Eastern Illinois.
Wow.
So like I thought of him as like he was just like this big time track and field guy. And so he was a great coach. I still talk to him today, and then he leaves when South opens up. So then I'm like, okay, the one guy I actually did like at this school, he leaves, and then we get the jumps coach now, our sprint coach. I'm like, this guy, he's a hype. I was all American at North Central. I'm like, at the time, again, this is me being 15 years old, not really knowing Division III and all that type of stuff, and how good they really were. Well, he's a D3 guy. He don't know nothing about track. But he's gonna be my track coach. Like again, that was me being young. I don't feel that way now. I don't say that now. But I was just, I didn't know. I was really naive. And so our first day of practice, I actually boycotted. I went to Plainfield South to go to practice with my old coach. Only time my life ever been suspended in anything from track or anything like that is because I was being wild. But um eventually, obviously, I bought into Coach Evans and had a pretty good career at Plainfield. I'm actually going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame in September, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how that happened. So
Congrats.
you go from a place where like I didn't really like the school, to be honest with you. I play football, I get comfortable, play basketball for a year there, but then track becomes my thing. And one thing I will say that I don't say I regret, but basketball is my true love. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, so I'm watching Michael. Basketball was my first sport I ever played. Well, they're telling me you got to pick one, football or basketball. And you can do track, but you got to pick football or basketball. And so, basketball coach said, "You just come to tryouts, you're on the team." I'm like, okay. I show up and I'm like, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't really have really good I don't say I didn't really talk to anyone about it, so I didn't have anyone to kind of bounce the idea off of. Walked into the tryout, walked right out, and decided I was going to do football and track going forward, and then earned a scholarship to East Illinois for track and field. And then I ran there for 5 years, and then along after that, went to grad school for a year, and then I started coaching right in 2010, 2009. I coached there for 4.5 years as assistant coach, and then I went to a small school in Pennsylvania, California University of Pennsylvania, D2 school. That school taught me a lot about coaching and myself. It was my first time living outside of Illinois. I grew so much in those 7 months of being there. I was only gone for 7 months out of Illinois, but I come back. I go back to Illinois State for 4 years, and then I take over East Illinois after that for 3 years, and then I got to go to the Power Five at the time, and went to University of Nebraska for 3 years, and then now I'm at USC. So kind of a crazy story, a lot of grinding, a lot of I'm in my first job. Yeah, my first job at East Illinois as a coach. I made $20,000, no benefits. I had after paid all my bills and everything. I had $210 to live off the rest of the month. Like I was broke as a joke, man. I had little side
Oh
hustles,
my
coaching
God.
kids on the side, but I was, I didn't have anything, but I did it for because I love it. Like I've always coached because I love it. Not obviously, is that has not been about the money. Now I'm doing obviously a lot better financially, but back then it was for the love of it. And I mean, it was tough. Like it's something like I had job offers in insurance world and other, like recruiting companies, and making a lot more money than I was making. Like you're the age of 25, 26, and all your friends are going downtown, they doing this, they hanging out, they going to games. I'm like, I got about $50 in my account, right? I ain't going nowhere. Like I'm happy I can eat this week, let alone try to
Yeah,
go to
right.
a game. But it all worked out. Being a man of faith, it all worked out. But it was definitely
That's
an
awesome.
interesting journey, though.
Definitely a grind. I was saying I'm one and saying one of my other episodes, like it was a brief moment where I was like, I really want to be um a college coach. And then I started like actually paying attention to the coaching side of college. And I was like, oh my God, that's a grind. Like you're having to pick up and leave. And especially in football, like if the head coach gets fired, everybody's gone. So
Everybody
it's
go.
like, yeah, so it's like it's such a grind and so fickle at moments, but I mean everywhere that you've gone, you've had success. So um you've had a pretty great career so far. Talk about your college experience. How was that though?
So like coming out of high school, I wanted to go to a team that could win. Like Eastern or at Plainfield, we were good individually, we had good relays, but when it comes to like any type of team title, we were never really in the picture. And so I wanted to go to a team like I wanted to win championships. Like I've always, and maybe this is what kind of is my competitive drive. Like anytime I watch a team wins a championship, I love watching that ceremony. As a kid, I could just lock in on it because it's just like that self of accomplishment of getting over the hill, like doing what people thought you couldn't do. And so I wanted to be a part of a program that was winning. Now, funny story. So I go to East Illinois. They have won the past 4 years in a row, indoors and outdoors and cross country, triple crown. My first year, we win indoors. Bet we're good. Continue on the legacy. We lose outdoors for the first time in like 8 years, and I'm like, I'm part of the pro. I'm part of the snag, but we won, four titles when I was there as an athlete. And it was an easy no. Training wise, it was so different from what I was used to compared to my high school coach. Again, like I told you at first, I want to buy into the guy from North Central, that guy. I didn't want to buy into him, but I did. Had success. I get to college, and initially this was the system I used when I first started coaching. It's like higher volume, and then they kind of cut it towards the end, and then you kind of run fast, and it's just very simple. It's easy, but I went through injuries. I pulled my hamstring. I did this, and that was not all on coach. Part of it was my diet. I'm living, eating, frozen pizzas, chicken nuggets. Like I didn't know about the dietary stuff as well because it's like I always ran fast. I was always fine, but that was
Mm,
the first time kind of, I was facing a little bit more adversity, and for me, like if you go back to my high school days, my basketball coach, my freshman year, I remember I rolled my ankle and it was bothering me, but that's my first ever head injury, and he called me a female lady part, and he's like, "Are you going to play or are you not?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out there and play." And so that kind of started a trend where I would run through a lot of different injuries, not knowing the repercussions it was going to be at the end of it. And so my first couple of years, it just was kind of rough. Like we were having success, and I was running okay, but I wasn't PRing the way that I thought I should be, or running the level I should be at all. And so my junior year, I shut off the fall. I have a great fall. I'm killing the workouts. I'm running times like, 46-second pace in practice. I'm feeling good. But in August, when we got back, I'm in the rec center playing basketball and I land on someone's foot and I kind of tweaked my knee a little bit. It swells up. I said, don't say anything. So I run all fall. So like 7 weeks of fall training, I run on it. Don't say anything about it. I wake up in the middle of the night one night and my knee is swollen. I'm in like pain. I'm like, whatever. I'm letting it go. Go another week.
Oh no.
And I got to the point I kept waking up every night in so much pain I had to say something. So I did. I had I sprained my ACL, I tore my meniscus, and I had some fluid on me. And I ran 8 weeks on that knee. Not
Oh,
anything. And so again, I go back to that freshman year. He called me that name right there. It's like it changed my toughness. And so like I think I do have a high pain tolerance, but it wasn't it probably wasn't the best thing for me because I will run through anything. And so I had to have knee
yeah,
surgery. And through that, rehab was a little bit different. Yeah, Eastern Illinois is a great school, but at the time the trainers were just kind of GAs and stuff like that. So my rehab wasn't very good. And so I come back off the injury. I'm struggling. I'm a little bit overweight for what, not that I was doing anything crazy, but I just gained a couple pounds and it's like was not moving very well. And so that junior year was kind of tough. And like I kind of realized there I wanted to be a coach because it's like I still came around practice. I still help out my teammates. I'm like, I can do this. I see my coach. He's like, he got all these fresh shoes. I'm like, got a nice all right. Man, I don't know. These track must be doing all right now. I could do this. And then, I go through the year, junior year, and I go through the summer. I go through rehab. I meet. My mom takes me to a chiropractor, gets my hamstrings right. My last meet of my junior year, I strained both my hamstrings. I ran. I've placed top four in the 200 or something like that, and we won. We got second in the 4x1 on two strained hamstring. This is how crazy that I was as a student athlete. Like I get I'm not proud of it, but it's just like it was kind of cool to know like that's how tough I was. Like now
yeah,
my knees, my everything hurts every single day. So like it was not worth it in the long run. But like I went through, and from a mental standpoint, I was like down, like, do I just give up track because this is not going the way I wanted to? But I said, I came back my senior year, had a good senior year, and then I told my coach I wanted to coach, but I needed a break from our team at track and field because when you have 60 some people that are competitive, men and women together, you just have drama. And any coach you have drama, they're lying to you. And so I went to grad school, kind of got away from track and field, and then the next year, a couple of coaches left on their staff, and I was working in the department anyway, and they asked if I wanted to be a coach, and I was like, I'll do it. And then at the end of the year, my first year of kind of coaching, they were like, "Do you want to go back to doing compliance stuff?" That's what my GA was for graduate school. That's why I paid for graduate school. I'm like, I ain't never going back to that desk job. Like I love coaching other people.
yeah,
Uh, and that's how it kind of took off. But my college career, it was up and down. It was not perfect. I had some good times, but I dealt with a lot of injuries. And a lot of that I think I can relate to my athletes with this. Like I've been there. Like, but also like I want you to be tough, but don't be dumb like I was, because all those things were just I could if I would have known what I know now, I would have been better off. I've been healthier diet wise, but also just speaking up. I'm a worker, I'm a grinder, I'm gonna work through anything, but it wasn't the right thing to do. Like I tell you, my knees hurt. And I did lift and work yesterday, but my knees are banging, my hamstrings are always about to pull on me, and I'm like, why did I just sit my butt down when I should have?
yeah. And it's funny because I think anybody that's super competitive like that, I think we all go through this phase where we don't know how to stop ourselves. And
Yeah,
sometimes you need that person from the outside to be like, hey, take it easy, calm
yeah,
down. And
yeah,
um Marcus Normant was my coach,
yeah,
and now I coach with him. And I was telling this to on the last episode when I was a senior, I was okay. I was like a 22-3 guy, like nothing crazy. But on my team, it was okay. Like
yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah,
needed for us to go to state. And I ended up pulling my hamstring really bad at conference. And I remember I'm rehabbing every day, and they're telling me like, we can't let you run like if you can't even practice, and I'm lying my butt off. I'm like, no, I'm good. It's good. I'm good. Yeah. Let me go in the second group though, because I probably can't keep up with them. Let me go in the second group. And I'm struggling, but I'm pushing through it. And
Yeah.
and you could tell that like they knew I was lying, but they was like, we're gonna let him just let him do his thing. But they protected me from myself because it could have been a moment where they knew I was going to college. They knew I was about to go play football and stuff like that. They could have been like, oh, whatever, let him run, and then I potentially can't play my freshman year college and stuff like that. So you always need that person to tell you like, take it easy, little fella.
For real though. I needed that. Now I can go back, and I try to save my athletes from themselves a lot of
Yeah,
times, make sure they don't do anything that's gonna harm themselves. But I'm proud of the of being tough. Like I am, like I think that's something you need in this world because sometimes you don't know if you're injured, if you're hurt. Now, I probably defied that a little too much and I went over the line way too much, but I think you got to just, but you also, they know, like the athletes are like, I cared about this. Like, I love this. And this is why I do it. I still have the same passion when I coach now. It's just, I don't push anything crazy because I'm not doing anything. I don't demonstrate any drills. Like, I made sure, I said, I got to the point where I was like maybe 27, 20. I was like, I'm done demonstrating these drills. I need to be able to communicate properly so I don't have to
yeah.
demonstrate stuff because I'm going to pull some out here and I'm going to be really upset. So, that kind of helped me grow as a coach too. It's just like I'm not doing that anymore. I'm getting too old to be doing all these high knees, A skips. I'm gonna pull something. Like I'm done doing this.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting at right now. I'm 20, I'm 29, and I'm trying to learn how can I cue this better. What is my cue going to be for this? What do I need to say for you to get this across? Because I'm like, I'm too old. I'm too old. Every time I run, I pull something. This is crazy. Like I'm not doing this no more.
Things start cracking everything. You're like, no, this ain't it. This ain't it. And then
Yeah,
hurdles. I was not a hurdler, and so I definitely I can always do the drills, but now I've gotten less flexible than I ever was in my life, and so I'm like, I am not about to go over a hurdle to show you something. You have to figure this out, and I'm going to figure out these cues to show you how to do this properly because we're not gonna have me on a TikTok video. Old man goes down. Ain't about to have that happen. So
that's funny, and that's a good segue. I was actually going to ask you how that was um, coaching hurdles for the first time because I figured that you weren't. I figured that you were just like a pure sprinter, maybe a jumper. But
yeah.
what is that like learning hurdles? Because I've been actually going through the process with Coach Marcus of learning as much as I can so that I can be more well rounded. So what was that like for you?
I mean, I was lucky. I was protected by Coach Akers. It's his program. I got to work with him and learn from him really closely. But towards the end of my tenure as assistant coach at Eastern, there's an athlete that was always pretty good at the 110 hurdles, but struggled with the 60 hurdles. And he's like, one day he came to me, and we actually talked about this recently because when my guy won last year, he's like hyping me up. I said, you realize I don't get to this point without you because you came to me, you said, hey, teach me how to hurdle. I'm like, he's like, I know you don't know very much about it, but you have a good eye. Like this is a college student. Now we're only about 3 or 4 years apart. I helped recruit him to the university, so we had a pretty good relationship. And I was a senior when he was coming in on his visit, and he's like, just teach me. And so like, I would we would work on. He said, just help me with my blocks. And then I was like, well, you help me see what you do over the hurdle. And so then I'm helping him with his block. His blocks are getting better. So then I'm asking like, oh, what does that feel like? What are you trying to focus on here? And so I'm learning on hand from him. And I'm learning from Coach Akers. But then this guy, we're working outside of our own practice. I'm working on his block start, and he's teaching me what things feel like when he hurdles. And so I'm like picking it up. And so I'm a very visual learner. Like I can read a book, but I need to see it in action. So then it leads me to try reading more books about it, watching videos, and so I'm watching other people's cues. And I'm like, it just kind of it came. I tell people I'm probably a better hurdle coach because I'm not as stubborn when it comes to certain things. Like when as a sprinter, like I did it this way, you got to be done this way.
Yeah,
Hurdles, I don't have that same feeling because I didn't do it. But
yeah,
because of him, like letting me kind of learn through his how he's moving his body and what he's feeling. And the things he's like, what do you? So I asked him about his trail arm. What's your cue to your sub? He's like, I say a backward C. I'm like, oh, okay. I see with that. And then as I continue to grow as a hurdle coach, I've figured out what I like and what I don't like, and it just it's probably one of the, not that I wasn't a great student. Like I obviously went to grad school, but I just didn't love learning about things that I didn't care about. Like
yep.
math, when you guys start getting all these extra letters in math, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, just keep it basic.
Exactly. Why?
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 It's the habit where I'm learning about trust and my love. And it's like, and I knew if I want to be a good sprint coach, I got to be a good hurdle coach. And so because of Dominique Hall wanting me to work with him and just kind of, and teach him working with his block, he helped me become a better hurdle coach. It's like, just teach me. And so then as I started figuring out, I got to feel him for what he felt. And he was really good of being able to describe those things to me. And so I really credit him of giving me that love for the hurdles because I didn't have it initially. I didn't, like I didn't want to like jumps. I've coached, when I'm my first year at Eastern, I coached every single event up to pole vault, and I will never want to coach that event ever again in my life. Um, but the hurdles, I fell in love for it, and then it's like I was able to grow and just learn and just kind of nerd out on it. And I mean, it was a tough at first, yes, but once I kind of figured out what I liked and what I didn't like, and then be able to apply to different student athletes, like it's been a really fun process. And and for the first time in my life, I asked for help. And people just kind of show me what they were thinking about. I'm not really big. I'm not really good at asking for help. You can say I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn. And but it's been fun. It's like I'm able to kind of nerd out on those things. And I think in some ways, not being as stubborn has made me a better hurdle coach because I'm a little more flexible because I don't have a body feeling, a body muscle memory of it. I gotta it's all up here, and so I've been able to
Yeah.
just learn my own way of doing things. And so sometimes, people always ask, like I was talking to coach yesterday, she's like, why do you always hurdle every guys go 42? It's like, I want them to be as efficient as possible over the barrier they're going to race at. Not 39 is great. You can be perfect at 39. For you guys, that's what you got to be. But, I watched the national meet. It's like, why are they always hitting the hurdles? Like if you watch the race from 2024 when Darius Luff won, he is probably the cleanest out of everybody, and what I remember getting a lot of compliments from a lot of coaches, like he is just so efficient. And part of that was him, and then just working with cleaning things up that I saw, because he's been a hurdler his whole life, but just, he's like, you helped me become a better hurdler. You made me more efficient, you made me faster, you made me cleaner. And it's like, and I saw with him, like if I put him at 39, he cheats. Like he can make anything look good at 39, but he's hooking the
Mm-hmm.
hurdle. It's like the race is at 42. And understand like you want to work on speed, but you could do it at 42 just as efficient. You have to be smart about the reps and the volume of it. But it's been fun. Like I really enjoy it. And I think, obviously if Dominic Hall he didn't ask me for that help, I would not be at USC coaching hurdles last past year. I really credit it to him. And he was shocked. He had no he remembered it, but he forgot. He's like, nah, man, like that, I would not be in this spot if it wasn't for you.
Wow. That's crazy. And um I feel like that's another thing that really gets us sprint coaches that aren't used to coaching hurdles is
Yeah.
because it's that challenge. Like okay, this is something new. How do I attack this? How do I take what I know from being a sprinter, being fast? How do I apply this to this with a barrier in front of these kids? Like you got 8 steps to get to the first hurdle. Like, okay, now what? What's the next challenge? Like,
Yeah.
how does that supposed to look? So that's dope. And that's what I'm kind of been going through the last season or so, trying to learn as much as I can. Um, one, so I could take some pressure off Marcus because Marcus coaches freaking everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, let me try to make your job easier. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's dope because it's a challenge and
It's
it's
different. It's something we've never done.
yeah,
So it's a challenge that you want to take on. And like any
yeah,
competitive coach, you're gonna want to be good at what you do. So like you're gonna figure it out. You have no choice. It's either flight or or fail. And it's like you're not gonna fail because this is why you're in the position you're in because you want to be successful and,
yep.
and you're hungry for it. So like that's why I've loved it. And I think something like if I came out, people were like, I didn't know you coach sprints. It's like, what? If you any coach. It's like I've always coached friends. It's like, yeah, but they hired you as a hurdle coach. I'm like, that's just a job. Like, doesn't mean I can't coach all the events. And then now it's like, oh yeah, I know you can coach. I know you can coach sprints. It's like, and then change. The game man changed. It's just, but that's funny how you get labeled kind of
Yeah,
quickly.
it's funny. Um, so then we go from college, we go to grad school. We're at Eastern. We take that brief stint in Pennsylvania next, and then
Yep.
we go back to Illinois State.
Yep.
What was that like?
I think it's so important to know who you work for. And going D2 was very humbling because, now I go to Eastern as an athlete. We won championships. I come as a coach. We won 15 out of the 16 opportunities to win indoor and outdoor championship for men and women. 15 out of 60 was pretty amazing. I go to California, Pennsylvania. Now, head coach just was named head coach that fall. I get the job in November. So I miss all their fall training. Now, a part of my process of growing as a coach, like, obviously towards the end of my career, assistant job at Eastern, coach gave me more autonomy over the workouts and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're doing his stuff. And so what I was doing, I would work all day, make recruiting calls from like 6 to 9, and then from like 9 to 11, I would work on my own training, like write out a whole year's worth of training. Like took me a whole year to do it, but I just kind of go through like what we did, what I kind of know, what I've been studying about, what fits and what I want to do. So like in my mind was like when I get my next job, I'm gonna have my whole training done for the year, which that's not possible because things change every single. But I'm young, I'm naive, I don't know any better. So I get to Cal U, Pennsylvania. They've been trained by the head coach, who's a great guy, great coach, but he's a distance coach, and so they've been doing nothing but like 30s and like not in very much good shape. And then so we go to this meet, and it's like we're not in good shape. Scholarship wise, there some kids are working full-time job. One kid is a UPS driver, going to school and running track. And so I'll go from like a place where it's pretty competitive. They're wanting to try to win conference championships, trying to get to regionals, to I have a kid that, hey coach, I got 8 to 5. I gotta, send money home to my family. I gotta do this. And it's like humbling because
Yeah.
you go from a place where like people, not that he didn't want it, he's a great kid, but his life was different. Like he had other
Yeah.
priorities in life he had to take care of. And so I had to learn how to talk to people differently, like because I'm zoned in on track and field all the time. We gotta win, we gotta do this, da da da. But now I have to understand this kid has full-time job at UPS. He has 2 kids. This kid has this, that kid has that. And so I'm having to just kind of look at their life situation a little bit more and just take a step back and understand the human being element. And so one thing that I learned from Coach Caulfield out there in Pennsylvania was just like, talk to the person, learn the human being first before you make a decision or judge them. And not that I was bad about that, but it really opened my eyes to just people's life situation. And
Yeah.
I think every job I've taken has helped me grow and prepare for my next job. And so when I went there, it was tough because we didn't have scholarship. I don't have any connections to Pennsylvania, so I'm having to meet all these new coaches. So I'm having to really have to hustle, and figure out this way. And now this D2 campus is probably one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever seen in my life. It has rivers surrounding it, brand new dorms, buildings, everything. It's like it's off the chain. So I knew I learned how to recruit it. So then my recruiting became better. And but it was humbling though because we're not really fighting to win a championship. Like the teams that was winning with the school that I was coming from, Shippensburg, they're winning all the titles, and we're trying to be top 6. And it's like
Yeah.
it didn't kill my competitive drive at all, but it taught me how to just connect with people in a different way and understand their situation a lot more and be more patient with them. And then I go to Illinois State. And also, Illinois State at the time was not very good. And that's no offense to the previous coach. I think it's just sometimes you have a bad run and things just don't go well, and it is what it is. And so I remember, like, I come in, I'm probably like, they would tell you, I hear some stories when I go to these kids' weddings or I see them, and we connect on certain things or this event. Like, you were so angry and so mean to us. You were coming in, getting after us every single day. And it's like I had to be because I was told that you guys would just quit workouts and you guys would sort of practice, you guys would do this and do that. It's like I had to just become, I had to become what they call that's the first version of Coach E because I was always Coach B up until Illinois State, and then I became Coach E. And I tell people Coach E is a better coach than Coach B, but Coach E initially was nuts. I was going to get after everybody. Like, I mean, we were at regional, and one of my former athlete, he's now the sprint coach at Illinois State. He goes, he was off the chain. Like you came in, you was yelling at everybody because everybody out doing this. And I'm like, I don't remember that. That's how you may remember that, but I do. And I go to a wedding and a couple years ago, and he goes, I just remember, and I'm not gonna say the exact words, but I'm hitting my head. You guys better fight through the pain, blah blah blah. And the guy was like, "You were so mean to me," and this is at his wedding. He's like, "You were so mean to me back then." I was like, "But yeah, you invited me to your wedding, so I did something right." Like,
Yeah. Right.
um, but there I think I really got a grasp of who I was as a coach and just like recruiting. And we went from like one of the worst sprint programs to one of the best. And then because of that, that's how I got the Nebraska job because Wichita State was in the conference at the time, and the head coach there, Rainbolt, saw how quickly I turned around that program. We were literally they were one of the worst, and they were scoring maybe one year they didn't score any points on the track in the sprints at the conference
Wow.
level. and he saw that, and he's the one that connected with the head coach of Nebraska, and how I got that job. But it was, I think I grew so much as a person. I got married, I had my wife. We got pregnant during that time. We had my first kid when I was at Eastern, my first year as a head coach. But I grew so much as a human being, from Cal U to Illinois State. Like those 5 years are really beneficial.
That's awesome. I actually, so I didn't know that you coached at Illinois State until recently, and I wanted to save this. Um, was your first year coaching 2015 or
So
2014?
so my first year was 2015, and my first season was 2015. Yeah.
So this is how I know that you guys weren't that good, and no offense to them, but I was leaving my D3 school. And my times, I had turf toe, so I was in a boot, so I didn't have the best freshman year, because I was coming off injury. But I ended up being pretty good at the end of my freshman year. But I was looking at different schools. It was like, okay, I had a couple D2 offers out of high school. Like, let me just try to look around. This is before
Yeah.
transfer portal, so you got to really do some
Yeah.
research
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and find a school, whatever. And I was like, man, I know a lot of people at Illinois State. Let me see what they're looking like. And I actually reached out. Um, and I think it might have been you that emailed me back.
For real?
I think it was you that emailed me back when I reached out. And it's funny how life is just full circle. But I had reached out because I was like, look, I saw some of the times you guys are running. I've ran some of the same times. And
Came up our next real quick.
and it was hilarious. One of the coaches reached back out, and I want to say it was you.
What did I say? So we needed you. We need you to come on through, or what? Or was I like, nah,
Uh,
wait,
no, it was really respectful because I didn't expect to get a response at all. It was
what?
like it was like, hey, like well then the first thing you got to do is see if you can get into the school, et cetera, et
Really?
cetera. Um, and I ended up not even going back to college for a few years, so that didn't pan out. But it's
Oh,
just funny how this small
yeah.
world. It's funny.
We were. It was rough. I mean, okay, this is how bad it was. My first meet. We go back to East Illinois. So like, and we had some talent on the roster, but it's just like getting them to work hard and just see there's a bigger picture than this. So we go back to Eastern. So I'm back to, I recruited the whole EIU team, the sprint hurdle team. Like everybody I recruited. So like they're good. I think I recruited two guys around 46, and it just was like unbelievable. So like I'm like going through. I'm like, I need to go out there. I need to show out. So we go out there, and in my mind, we have a terrible meet. Terrible meet. So I remember the next night. This is on Friday night. This is in December, early bird meet. I'm sitting on the bus like, man, what did I do? This is like, am I messing up? Like, and I chewed the kids out. I said, I expect more of you guys. You got to work harder. You got to run harder. Give me your all. Like I told one kid, he ran 49.4, and he'd have running 40, 45 for me at ISU. I was pissed because I'm like, you should have beat this kid. I told you you need to get out. You didn't get out. You were last to the break line, and then you get second. Like that's not good enough. So I'm pissed. Like I'm sitting on the bus. I'm like, ugh. Saturday morning, I'm sitting in my apartment, just looking at the wall. No TV turned on, nothing. I'm like, what did I do?
Going
Because
through
it,
it.
going through it. The jump coach calls me. He's still one of my good friends today. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing. Just looking at this wall." He's like, "Why?" It's like, "You see how bad we were yesterday?" He goes, "What are you talking about? Everyone in your group PR'd." I said, "What?" So I go on the keepers, and I look at it. I was like, "Uh-oh." So I apologize to the team on Monday. I said, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Like these are just my level of expectation for you guys, and you did a great job. I do apologize for what I said, like, and I apologize because I was wrong because they all had a great meet. Like he PR by like almost a second, the 49.4 kid, and I was pissed, and I was like so mad, and I was like, oh my god, what is wrong with me? But they saw that version of me. Like one, I just want them to be successful, and I care about them. It's not that
Yep.
and I think that really got them to buy into me because I mean, that kid that ran 49.4 ran 45 for me. He goes, when you got there, you're yelling, you're screaming at me, and da da da. But then I had success, and it was like, I see why you were so hard on us. Like you wanted us to get out of our own way and just work hard. And it was like you changed. Like I went to coffee. I had coffee with one of our former distance runners from there last week, and she goes, "You made ISU cool." And I was like, "You made like I wanted to be in your group because you guys had fun." And I'm like, You talk to those kids, they said I was always mean to them. They're like, they loved me because of it, but it's just like the perspective of the outside world was so different. But I mean, I was so mad at them, and then I read my words because I went off on kids at 22 out of like 24 had a PR, and I was like, well,
That's
I know,
hilarious.
but
I feel like we've all gone through that though. We've all
yeah,
gone through that.
yeah,
But it's dope because the kids they do see that you care. And
yeah,
once you get a kid to care or see that you care, I feel like they'll run through a brick wall. And I feel like kids like they can smell it out. They can tell when people don't care or they just here for a moment or they here for the pay as if it's good. Like
yeah.
they can smell it out. So I think we've all been through that been through that at some point in our careers.
Yeah, and I mean,
Um,
it was a good life lesson for me. And but I will say, as a coach, that I changed how I approach it. I don't yell, I don't cuss. I'm chill now compared to them. And people they get so mad. That team, those 4 years, are like, this is not fair because you were not like this. It's like, well, I have 4 kids now. I'm married. Like I've changed. I'm older now. Like I can't be
yeah,
acting crazy like that. Like it's just different. Like but I also had to evolve as a coach, and it's like
exactly.
that's not who I am anymore. And they're like, that's not fair. You need to yell at these kids. Like, whatever.
It's all part of the process.
It is. It is.
So then we end up going to um, Nebraska after
Yep.
Illinois State.
Yep.
Um, you have a 3 year stint there,
Yep.
and then we get to USC. So what is that transition like? Well, I guess how did you get to the power? How did you get the opportunity to get to a Power Five school
Yeah.
first? How did that come about?
So, like I mentioned briefly, Wichita State head coach Steve Rainbolt, he coached in Nebraska in the early or late 80s, early 90s, and he saw how quickly I turned around Illinois State. And then I hired one of his former athletes to be my multis coach. And then Eastern, we were Coach Akers towards the end of his career. They kind of went through a little rough spot. They weren't as successful as they had been. And so that's where he kind of stepped away. He's like, I think need some fresh blood in here. I get there, we win 3 championships, boom, like that. And that's through COVID and everything kind of crazy. So he's like, you're a proven winner. I watched you change Illinois State from being one of the worst to being one of the best now. And so he recommended me to Gary Pepin, the longtime head coach of Nebraska. And so I meet Gary Pepin at the regional meet at A&M in 2021. And I say, hey, coach. And he goes, hey, hi, how you doing? All right, bye. And he just walks away. He's like, I said, this is not good. This is not a good conversation. He goes, no, no, he's just like that. But now you know what you did to get this job. And so I called my friend, the former Jones coach at Illinois State. They called me that Saturday when I was acting a fool. He was at Kansas State. He knew the high jump coach up there, and he called and put a good word in for me. He said, hey, the guy said reach out to him. So we have a guy qualified for nationals in 800, so I get to go as a head coach. And so they hit me up about wanting to interview at nationals. And so I go to this hotel and we talked for 2.5 hours. Now I heard there was someone else that they wanted to hire, so I wasn't really like banking on this job, but I thought a 2.5 hour conversation in a hotel room with these two guys was a good sign. And Rainbow and a lot of people recommended me to Coach Pepin, and obviously Dusty, the high jump coach and multi coach there now. Had a good rapport with them, and then they called me the following week on Father's Day on that Sunday and offered me the job. And I was like, I'm leaving opportunity to be my own boss, but this is something that I kind of want to do. And this, Nebraska is a really known university, great football, track and field. They won, yeah, I think Pepin won over like 80 conference championships with like a total of like over 100 some championships. And they won 3 national titles. So it was just like a good opportunity
Yeah,
to go up there. Now, like just like I mentioned, sometimes you have to know who you're working for. And Coach Pepin, like he's a great guy, like he's he's a stickler about certain things, and I don't know, like I said, he made me a better coach because of the questions he asked me when it came to recruiting. And recruiting is different at the Power Five than it is at the mid-major level, and I didn't know that. I learned a lot on my first year or two there, just of thinking differently. Now it's crazy. It is, Coach Pepper retires after my first year, and so there's a little flux of like what's about to happen. I moved my family from Illinois to Nebraska. I have 2 kids at this time. Um, and so I'm like, man, like this is gonna be crazy. They promote the throws coach. We connected early on in our first year together there, and so he kept everyone on staff, and so it went really well, and we had a pretty good season. Things were developing. Like sprints had scored the most points and qualified for regionals in most events they've had in a good chunk of time. And so we started having some success. And then my third year there, had two guys make it indoors to nationals in the hurdles. Now, unfortunately, one had a freak thing with his hamstring. Darius had been sick. He lost 10 pounds. I
Oh,
thought he had a
jeez.
chance of being able to win indoors and outdoors his senior year, but the guy's playing a little bit different. And so like he goes there, he gets 14th. The other guy doesn't can't even compete. And so I remember like just spring break, I'm like, we gotta get this thing figured out. I have a 200-meter guy that came with me. He's here with me at USC. He's going through his little thing. And then outdoors, it's just like it clicks. Darius is running, if you would have saw indoors, you would have saw what happened outdoors. You would have like, there's no way this is gonna happen. But he comes out first meet outdoors before the relays runs 13-4. He ties Jacoby Dart beats him by like a thousandth of a second. It's like you should just lean Darius. You run through the line. Like that's what I get on about it. And then we go to Arizona. He runs 13-4, and we're training through because I'm like, we got to get you in a little bit better fitness shape. After losing weight, got to get you stronger. He runs 13-4 again. And then we go to Drake Relays, and I'm like, he's warming up really well. I'm like, man, he's about to run like 13-2. And I remember standing in the stands at Drake Relays. I said, he's about to run the fastest time in the country right now. I just said it to myself. No one else. And he ran out there around 13:25. And it was the fastest time in the country. I think number two in the world at that time for the open, April in the season. So it was like kind of crazy. And then he just was lights off from there from that point on. So Darius, he goes, he upsets Jacoby, and then once in hurdles, and he wins around 13-19, number 9 all time in NCAA history. Um, Garrett runs 20.2, makes it to nationals, and so it's just like a good opportunity. And the former hurdle coach here went on to be the head coach at UCLA, and the jumps coach in Nebraska is cool with Coach Watts, and they've recruited some places together. And he's like, he knew it wasn't him coaching hurdles. He's like, who's coaching hurdles in Nebraska? They're doing a pretty good job. And so he gave him my name. And right after nationals, we get back. Coach calls me. He's like, I want to interview you. I'm gonna talk to your head coach first. We can get his permission. And so he talks to him. And so I remember getting off the phone with my wife. I left with Quincy, and I was like, all right, cool. USC is interested. I told my wife, we're not going to California. I don't care what you say. Like, I love USC is great. We're not moving to California because you hear so many things. I ain't going to California, but we go through this process. I have a Zoom interview on that Monday, which is kind of crazy because Nebraska, Darius he's born and raised in Nebraska. So first ever national champion, the one-two hurdles for the university. And so they named June 7th, Darius Left Day in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so my Zoom interview is like at like 3, the ceremony's like 5. It ends up getting pushed back to 4. And so I get off the Zoom call and I missed the ceremony. So this is kind of crazy because now what I didn't want people to know that I had an interview with USC. Why is his coach not at his big ceremony, him being honored? And so like we go through this process of like everyone's asking me all these questions, and so like now I'm like, God, I never knows I'm interviewing with USC. The next day I interview with the student athletes. It goes well, but then we have trials, Olympic trials coming up. So then we go to trials, don't hear anything, and then Coach Watson invites me over to the hotel. We talk some more, whatever. And so he's like, all right, I'm leaving trials. He's like, hey, I want you to come out. You and your wife to come out to LA. We'll fly you guys out. So this is like a 6-week process. And
Yeah.
now going USC in the process, now I get it. But back then, I was like, man, I don't know about this situation. This is kind of crazy. But he's like, he kept telling me, you're my guy. You're my guy. I'm like, am I your guy? Because this is like, I'm into it now, big dog. Like, am I really your guy? And so then we go on vacation. So they're calling me on vacation to book these flights for my wife and I, which I think was honestly, in retrospect, was the best thing for me and my family because when Big Dog was on board, my wife was on board, then it was okay. But she came out here, she's like, I think we could do this. Like she's a beach person, she loves the beach.
Oh, nice.
So we flew out together. She got a chance to check out the university, and she really liked it. But it made my decision easier because we did it together. It wasn't just like in Nebraska, she wasn't involved in the interview process. And when she's on campus, there, she was here right there next to me. She met everyone that I met. It was kind of a real smooth process. And so he calls me. It's like I come out here and then I go back home. He's like, I'll call you on Monday. Nothing happens on Monday. He calls me on Thursday. He's like, oh, coach, I'm at a dinner right now. I'll call you tomorrow, let you know what's going on. I'm like, so then this is 6 weeks in. I'm getting kind of frustrated. But in the meantime, another school reaches out to me and a coach calls me. He's like, I just want to get to know you. I don't know if I have a job yet. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. But in that conversation, he's like, all right, I'll find you out on Monday. It's your job if you want it. And I'm like, bet, so I'm like, forget USC. I'm like, this opportunity because this is a good opportunity, closer, a little bit closer to family. There's no state tax in this place. I'm like, I can do
Oh
this.
yeah.
I can do this now. And then, so that's Friday morning. Well, then the person I was talking to before I got on this call, I have an interview with her, and she's like, she's a compliance person. She's very serious, but she's a good people person, so she can read people. And so, like, he's like, this is your last test. It's like it's little test checkpoints for the USC you have to go through. And so I get off the call with the other university, and I'm like, I don't really want to get on this USC call, but I get on it. And I gotta be professional, and I do it. And we have a good conversation. It's great. I passed her test. She says, it's one of the best phone calls I've been on. I was like, all right, that's good. I'm not going to y'all. I'll talk too long. You waste too much
Yeah.
time. I can go see if I can stay in Nebraska. I can go to the other university. And so then I get done with that call with the other university. Coach Watts calls me, offers me the job, and I'm like, well, coach, somebody else has reached out to me now. I don't know if I'm gonna take this job. And he's like, what? Oh, coach, you're my guy. Come on now. Don't do this to me now. And I'm like, coach, I'm just gonna go on this interview, check out this other school. He's like, all right, well, let me know what I can do for you. Da da da. And so then I'm like, my head's spinning now because I'm like, do we just stay in Nebraska? My wife loves it here. She has a good job. We may be having our fourth kid. We don't know yet. Like, there's really, that's kind of going through that. So, like, moving to California with four kids is a lot, and then going to the other school, it's closer to family. We have more support. And so then my wife was like, we got to do our pros and cons list. And so we go through it pretty even. Nebraska obviously has upper leg because we have a house there. We're comfortable, no need to move. But it's like some things you're kind of checking out. And like, I remember Coach Watson, we can win national championship. This other school has this, has a pretty good, I'm a Nike fan, so I'm like, got two Nike schools now. Like, what's up now? I can bust on my J collection now. I got knocked on my J's again now.
There you go.
It's not really a factor, which, I said to my wife joking, she's like, no, be serious. This is real life. I said, I know, but it's true though. It's true. Like, where my J's again? She goes,
Yeah.
no, don't give me that. And so we go through it, and the one school, the other school, she's like, if you turn that down, would you regret it? And I was like, no, because have had other offers in this conference before, so like I think it could happen again. I'm not too worried about it. So what about Nebraska? It's like, I know for our family, we love it here, kids are comfortable, but what if you turn down USC? I said, I will regret it. She goes, then I think you know what you have to do. And so then I called other university coach. I decided I'm gonna take the USC job. I appreciate the time. I'm sorry for wasting your time. But USC is where I wanted to be to begin with, and I got what I wanted, and so I committed to USC. But it was just kind of a crazy process because at one point I was like, I'm not going there initially. And then it was like, okay, I'm filling USC, and then it was like taking too long. I ain't going to USC again, and then it was like, I got
Yeah.
this other university, but it worked out really well. I mean, even though like it was a long process, and because of it though, there was some negativity around it, like not about USC or LA, but people are reaching out and they're like that know about the situation because obviously more people find out because I missed that ceremony for my student athlete,
Hmm.
and there's some negativity about it. People are trying to schedule phone calls for me to talk to this person that they worked there a couple of years ago. You're gonna, and what really kind of set it off was someone said to me or said I wasn't on the call with the guy. I was on speakerphone in the room. It was for me, and he said that guy's cares about his family. He'd be an idiot to move to LA. And it's like, how do first of all, you don't know me or my kids. How are you going to say something like that? And what type of father I am? He's like, you're going to be in the car for 2 hours. He'll be in the car for 2 hours. And that's just a terrible father and a husband. And it's like, oh, you don't even know me. So first of all, this is the worst call you could have had me listen to.
Yeah.
And coming to find out that guy was driving 2 hours away. Well, that's his fault. I live 13 miles away. I drive 25, 35 minutes. And I spend more at home than I've ever spent at home this year with my wife and kids. It's like, so it was tough because it wasn't met with just like, yes, go to USC, do this and that. There was met with some negativity, and it was tough because the process was long. So then people that know about it are like always asking me about it. They're like, I don't think they want you, but knowing the USC way now is just there's some checks and balances you have to do to get this opportunity, and just like it was tougher than I thought it would be. Just, you think USC calls you, you're going to be like, yes, I'm going.
Yeah.
But when you have a family, you have kids, it's harder. But then you have negativity that people are not a lot, but certain people that I thought would support me were not supporting me, or people trying to have me talk to this person and they're just talking down about the situation. And it's like, man, like, is this the right move? And then you move your whole family across country. I have, at the time I have three kids, now I have four kids. Is this the best thing for them? Because you hear so much thing about the school district, hear so much thing about LA. But like I mentioned, that us, my wife and I coming out here together and seeing it together really helped ease a lot of those concerns. And like,
Yeah.
when we won that national title in June, I texted her, I said, I think we made the right decision. She goes, yes, we did. And so like that was kind of like just like kind of like a validation that this was the right thing to do, like for us, and just like calm anything any doubts that I had previously, they were all gone. But it wasn't an easy situation. Like, USC, yes, is a great program, but as you get older, you have family, and then you people
Yeah.
that you think support you are not as supportive about it. It's like, dang, like what am I supposed to do? Like it
Hmm.
was tough, you know?
Yeah. It's tough when people start to project their fears onto you and your opportunities. I've dealt with some of that recently, so I understand that completely. Obviously, not the magnitude of
Oh,
yours,
but
moving across
it's the
country
same
and
thing.
stuff,
Yeah,
but
it's the same thing,
yeah,
man.
yeah. But people project their fears onto you and expect you to feel the same way, and it's like, no, we're different people. I have different motivations. I have different support systems and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that. So I completely understand how that goes. Um, but that is a grind, man, and
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. Um, you know, you took a leap of faith on yourself, and you ended
Yeah.
up with a national championship. So
Two of them now. We got two
two of them,
national. Yeah,
two of them, two of them. It's like
you know.
you
I
can't
could
get
I, I could have
can't don't
two
get better
girls.
than that.
No, it doesn't. Just I got a mini one over there in my corner of my office, and it's like, that would never happen if I took that leap of faith, because the things that and so here's the crazy part. So the guy that came with me from Nebraska, my sprinter, if we don't have him this year, we don't win a national title both indoors and outdoors. But if we say Nebraska, the USC doesn't win. Nebraska has a different year probably with the sprints and hurdles and everything like that. So like this move really changed the narrative and story from universities. Like that, not that I'm not trying to take credit for that, anything like that, but just saying like how this move was so just so big for what happened, like the directive of Nebraska a little bit in my from my venue, and the coach did a great job filling in for me. But obviously, not having Garrett there changed his season. Us having Garrett changed our ending of our season in both indoors and outdoors. And it's like, what if I don't take the leap of faith? Like, what happens? Like, where am I at today? And
Yeah,
you know, being a man of faith, like I trusted what the guy was giving me, and that's all good.
yeah, and the fact that the athlete would come with you, it just shows the type of person that you are. Because just like I said, kids can smell that out. So if he didn't have that trust and belief in you,
Yeah,
um, he's not gonna make that move to transition with you over to USC. So
no,
kudos to you again. Super excited for your success. That's dope. Um, I told myself with this episode I would ask a little bit about training. So I'll just
yeah.
ask you just a little bit. um, where do we start? Let's see. So how would you start your preparation for your sprinters? Like starting with the fall when you first get them on campus. How would you transition them from um, whatever they did in high school to getting into your program?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, one thing I try to do is connect with all the high school coaches that have coached them, the ones that have had success with them, because some things are working. Like you've had success with your athletes, so like I don't need to change every single thing that they do, because if it's not broken, why fix it? But I do think the most important thing is we come in, we work on the simple sprint drills. Mondays, is our kind of like our speed, our acceleration days to work on. But the first initially, we work on sprint drills, work on their mechanics. Tuesday, now for Tuesday for them has been like we'll do like some plyos, just again in the fall, working on just showing them the plyos that I want them to do to focus on and make sure that they're doing it correctly. Wednesday is kind of that, we do split runs, we do a speed endurance day for them. They're gonna run. Thursday is always an off day for here. So coming to USC, because we're such a speed power based program, we have to be on the same calendar as everyone on our staff. Like in the previous in Nebraska, like I could go Monday, Tuesday off, Wednesday, come back Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, now my 3 day in a row are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I've had to figure that out. I've had to change how I train people, change how
Mm,
I hurt. So Thursdays are off day, and then Friday would be another kind of speed acceleration day, and then Saturday we run hills. There's not a lot of hills in LA, but or hills that are runnable or not anything crazy. And so like We run hills, we do stairs and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that I work on is their mechanics and just kind of slowing down the motion because we have a lot of time. We start in September, we don't end until we got people running now until World Championship. So having their mechanics and work on their form is the most important thing initially. On this that Wednesday workout, I love the old Baylor workout of doing continuous 200s. Like, you run a 200, get a minute 30 break. That's what I did in high school now, or not high school, in college. And it was like, you get a minute 30 break. Now, when I was in college, we did 22 of them bad boys. Now, I don't do that because that's outrageous. We do between 5 and 7 of them,
Okay.
which is pretty good for my short sprinters. Now like here, because we're kind of blessed because Coach Watts, obviously Olympic gold medalist, he coaches all 400. Obviously, I have the 400 hurdlers, so I can kind of throw them in with him, or we do some similar stuff. We do some collab stuff together. But like doing like little split runs, they do, split threes, and they may do 200, 100, they do 150, 150, 100, 100, 100, just stuff like that. Is a big thing. Something that I've also learned this year through the previous sprint coach is, he runs, he'll do like a workout. He did a workout. I'm going to steal this workout. You can steal if you want to. But he run, 400 meters worth of volume, but they run 50s. And it's working on speed. They're running pretty fast, but it's a walk back recovery. And it's only up to 400 meters. So you're still working on speed. You get a little good endurance piece, but you're not doing very much volume, and they're still very fit. And that's something that I picked up from. I was like, I really like that workout. Because I've always, the thing that I was always kind of scared about, and again, this is more because I learned it through my former coaches, my college coaches' way, is like he had a day for, we ran 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't do that. We don't run Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like we ran hard. We ran hard workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But with him, I learned is like, there's a day that we focus on plyometrics, like a full day, have them do plyos, have them warm up, do plyos, or like, and there's ways you can kind of manipulate the recovery day where you can do a longer warm up and get a little bit of volume on their legs, but they're just doing warm up and not doing anything crazy. And so like
Hmm.
I've really adapted the doing less is more, and that's the thing that
Yeah.
I've had to just be comfortable with because I wasn't used to it as a student athlete because we ran. That's all we did was run 5 days a week. A
Yeah.
lot of that, you
Same.
know?
Same. 8 200s twice a week
Yeah.
at 2026 pace. Like,
Yep. That's all
yeah.
we did. It's like you can't do that anymore. Like we gotta. But the most important thing, setting up the fall is about was working on the simple things, working on the mechanics. Work on their ankle stiffening, and then making sure that they understand little hill recovery, working on their 3 point stance, working on their pushes, and just how it kind of leads into everything you do the rest of the year. Just kind of simplifying it for them.
Got it. Got it. I appreciate that because I'm definitely gonna steal that. Definitely gonna steal that into my programming. But I want to thank you again so much. This is our first time actually having a conversation besides like a
Yeah,
little, text message.
yeah,
You were gracious enough to come on the podcast. Um, I've heard so many great things about you. I've heard how you still connected with Plainfield Central now, and you've talked to the teams and stuff like that. So um, everybody that I speak to that knows you says nothing but great things about you. Um, I have nothing to say but great things about you. I'm super excited for your success,
thank
um,
you.
and I hope that you end up taking a chance on the kid that we got this summer.
No, I definitely like I follow Plainfield. Like again, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if not for where I came from. So like I texted Marcus about a female. He's
Yeah,
coaching. Yeah, and
yeah,
like because I noticed like her build and the things she's doing, I was like, hey, she's doing some really good things. And so, um, I follow everything. I'm not just because I'm living out I'm not LA. Believe me, I'm still Midwest. I support all my people. I was back there. I saw my mom for her birthday, and just I'll be back in September. So like I'm definitely I'm always looking. I ain't forgot where I came from. I will never forget. And I appreciate everyone you talk to that knows me. I appreciate that because I try to just be me. I'm not trying to be I don't got no, I may be living in Hollywood, but I'm not Hollywood at all. I can guarantee you that.
good, good. Enjoy the nice weather too, especially when these cold months start coming up. We got negative, and you're
Yeah.
you're sitting in 60s probably chilling.
Yeah. I'm not, what's crazy? Like I've gotten soft though because of my daughter's soccer game in April. It's 58 degrees. I got a winter jacket on, winter hat and gloves. I'm like, what is wrong with me? But it's
Oh
different though
no.
because of the ocean effect. But I
Okay,
ain't proud of I
okay.
ain't proud of it though. Like I'm still soft because I do not have a winter. I should not have a winter hat on and gloves on. But They've kind of turned me now, so I don't know if I can go back to
Yeah.
these winters and stuff like that.
Yeah, 50s for us is short weather out here.
No, I took that outside. I got to toughen up because I ain't about to be out
There you
here.
go.
That's ridiculous. I ain't about to do
There you
this.
go.
Like, but I started one day. I was out there freezing. I'm like, hold up. I'm like, just wear a sweatshirt. We've been dressed a little bit better now. Like, oh no, don't be full California on everybody now because this is ridiculous. But I told the coach from Michigan I did that. He looked at me like I was crazy. I said, "It's the ocean. The ocean's right by there. It's cold." And he's like, "Man, get him out of here."
I went to Arizona in January, and when I left, it was like -10.
Yeah.
And when I got there, it was like 50s, 60s. And they were like, "Yeah, it's freezing out here," and I was like, "No, it's not."
Yeah, yeah. I get caught up in this West Coast living. It's like, man, I need to stop because this is beautiful. And and yeah, I was acting funny that one day, but I made sure I remember where I came
You go.
from.
Get back to your roots. Get back to your roots.
I got back to my roots. I'm good now.
That's what's
But
up. Awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
all
Um,
right,
and that's your average coach podcast.
all right, man. Fight on. Appreciate you, big
Appreciate it,
dog.
man.
All right,
Thank you.
man. All right.
Have a good one.
You too.